Hey, Baylor fans, this is your call to gear up with Harley-Davidson of Waco. Whether you're hitting the open road or tailgating at McLean Stadium, we've got the ride to match your Bear pride. Check out our wide selection of new and pre-owned motorcycles, visit our service department, or shop all the latest gear and accessories to show off your Baylor spirit and Harley pride. Visit us today and find your freedom on two wheels. Harley-Davidson of Waco, where Baylor fans never ride alone. Visit in-store or at hdwaco.com. Sic Em Bears. Welcome back to the Sic Em Podcast, presented by Harley-Davidson of Waco. I'm your host, John Morris. On this week's episode, we're catching up with legendary Baylor quarterback and fan favorite, Nick Florence. During his time behind center, Florence set Baylor's single-game and single-season passing yards records while being named an All-American, Big 12 Scholar Athlete of the Year, and a member of the All-Big 12 First Team. Now, Florence remains an active member of the Waco community and serves as the Associate Athletic Director for Major Gifts here at his alma mater. Nick Florence, welcome into the Sic Em Podcast. We're fortunate to get you. I know you're taking care of air conditioning, making sure Rachel's car is okay and everything, but we appreciate you being on with us.
No, it's glad to be on. Glad it still worked out. And yeah, this is adulting at its finest, right? Moving cars all around town before you head out on vacation. You need that AC to work. So
very much so. Even if you're going to Colorado, you got to have the AC before you.
That's exactly. You got to drive through Texas to get there.
Right. You're a long way from Colorado right now. We do appreciate you being with us. How's the summer going for you?
You know, honestly, it's great. I love summer. I mean, you as you know, you sprint pretty hard from August to May, and summer it just, you get to breathe a little bit. I think part of that is you don't have to take your kids to elementary school by 7:30 every day. And then, you know, the other thing that I really enjoy about summers is we get to do some dinners with incoming parents as they're here for orientation, and just getting to share with them about what we do here in advancement. But I think the most inspiring part is hearing them talk about why their kids are choosing to come to Baylor and be students here. And honestly, it's inspirational. Most of these people are not alums. And you can tell they've fallen in love with who we are as an institution. And really, they're from all over the nation, from California to Hawaii to Minnesota to Missouri. So yeah. It's there's lots of fun things about summer.
My wife, Terry, was in a job here at Baylor at one point where she was part of those dinners for the parents, the incoming students and their parents. And I went with her a few times, and it was so cool. I mean, every night you just heard those stories like you talked about, and it was really inspirational, wasn't it?
It really is. And you get to talk about all the things that make Baylor Baylor, and these parents are nodding their heads, and it's the same reasons why they're here today. And, you know, it's really cool to see God's hand at work and how he truly really forges our paths in front of us. He hems us in behind and before, and we're all in this room, not by coincidence, together. And it's the beginning of a story that is going to knit them in, and it's bigger than us, and Baylor gets to be a part of it. And again, we're just doing such amazing things here that it's fun to talk about and meet new people that are now a part of the Baylor family.
Love it. That's great. Did you ever think when you came to Baylor out of South Garland High School that 10, 11, 12 years after graduation, you'd be here working for Baylor?
Not at all. I think when you're coming out of high school, most people are thinking about one thing, and that's themselves. And so luckily you get to come to an institution that's going to show you that life's a lot bigger than you. And I think the humbling thing about that is you learn how to make an impact to those around you. And you know, I'm grateful for the path that God has laid out for me, and we love Waco, my wife and two kids, and love that we get to be a part of what God's doing here in Waco as a city, but also still at Baylor. And so it's a dream come true. And, you know, you get to run around town and see people that you know all the time, whether you're eating out or just walking the neighborhood. And it's a blast living in a smaller town.
I think you're perfect for the role you're in with advancement, managing director of development, principal gifts, raising funds for Baylor and Baylor athletics. You're the perfect guy. I remember when you interned originally and you would call people and it was like,
oh, this is Nick Florence calling me. I mean, you had an immediate entree to these people, didn't you?
Yeah, no, it's fun. It definitely opened doors. I mean, JMO, you know me, I don't really like talking about myself and all those things, but I learned very quickly that people wanted to talk about that. And so had to get a little more comfortable doing that, but it definitely opened doors and then at the end of the day, learning how to shift that conversation and begin asking questions about passion and interest and philanthropy. And it truly is amazing, the amount of people that have come alongside what we're doing, from athletics to academics. It truly is remarkable, having just closed out a $1.5+ billion Give Light campaign, which is wild to think that we raised that kind of money. And then the athletic facilities that were a part of that, the impact it's having on our student athletes and our students as a whole. Like, it's just, you don't realize it as a student, what all goes into it. And, it's even fun. We've got Sawyer Robertson interning with us this summer. And so even for him, kind of seeing his eyes get wide at all the things that go into making his experience and the generosity of others so that he can have a better experience while he's at Baylor. So it's pretty special.
I know you don't like talking about yourself, but we're going to do that for a few minutes, okay? So be prepared. You're in it now, buddy. What was your path like? How did you end up signing with Baylor?
That is a little bit of a wild story. For me, football was always something I did, but I didn't want that to be the defining thing about me. And so for me, I wanted to play football because it provided an opportunity to get an education. And I honestly didn't really want to go far from home. I'm a routine homebody type guy. And so Baylor was high on my list. I knew a lot of friends that have come to Baylor over the years, and most importantly, it was a place I could grow in my faith and could get connected with the church community here and then the institution as a whole from that perspective. And so luckily, I was being recruited at a time where Baylor football was not at its height. And so they would look at a recruit of my caliber. And I was not the highly star-studded recruit out of high school. And so it worked out really well for me. Actually committed into my junior year of high school. Guy Morris was the coach at the time. And then obviously at the end of that next fall, my senior year of high school football season is when the change happened and Art came in. And I was lucky enough that Art kept me on, despite also getting this other guy to come with him from Houston named Robert Griffin III. So there's a lot of God's hand was in it and worked a lot of miracles along the way to get me to Baylor.
Yeah, that's a great story. I think we don't encourage gambling at all, but we would win some, let's say, trivia contest if we asked who's Baylor's all-time career passing leader, right?
Not career, single season and single game. Griff's got the career locked up. I can't touch that.
That's true. Thank you for that. Okay, I blew the trivia question, but single season, you're the guy, and I'm not sure how many people would realize that.
Yeah, we had a pretty good year in 2012, and ultimately it's just a testament to the O-line, the receivers, and the running backs. At the end of the day, they did a heck of a job catching passes and my philosophy is I'm not the most athletic guy on the field by a long shot. And so I might as well get the ball out of my hands to the guys that can actually run a lot faster than I can. And so they did a heck of a job making me look really good. And really that record is all theirs too. It's not a one-man record.
There you go. There's that humbleness again of Nick Florence. That's good. But you might have had the career record if you'd played another season, and there were plans for you to have another season after 12, but that sort of got waylaid in 2011, late in the year. It's one of my favorite stories about you and about your unselfishness, and really in all of Baylor athletics, one of my favorite stories. 11th game of the year, 2011, Texas Tech, AT&T Stadium. Robert gets a knee to the helmet. He's a little fuzzy. You take it from there. At halftime, what happens? Coaches come to you and say, "We need you."
Yeah, they you could tell Griff really wasn't all there, and he was actually in the treatment room the whole time during halftime. So we kind of had no idea what was going on. But when he came out, when the player comes out not holding their helmet and the Mike Sims is holding his helmet, that's not a good sign.
That's right.
And so coach just came up to me and honestly was just, "Hey, can you go in? You willing to burn your shirt?" And, I think through all the things I'd learned and through the ups and downs of the 3 years prior. And, I was fortunate enough to see that, man, we can write our own story and our own path. But God's going to pave the way. Right. And so, man, it was truly, I don't know why I answered the way I did, but whatever you need, coach, I'm ready. And so, grateful for that response. And I think that's part of what we're called to do at Baylor is to help our student athletes grow from the time they step foot on campus. I would not have answered that question that way. But fast forward 3-4 years later, that was the answer. And that's because of so many people, the coaches, the administrators, the faculty on campus, like so many people pour into you as a college student and hopefully help shape you, and you're not the same. And so, yeah, was able to go in, and man, it was one really fun half of football against Texas Tech, and to do it at Cowboy Stadium was a lot of fun as well.
Hey, Baylor fans, this is your call to gear up with Harley-Davidson of Waco. Whether you're hitting the open road or tailgating at McLean Stadium, we've got the ride to match your Bear pride. Check out our wide selection of new and pre-owned motorcycles, visit our service department, or shop all the latest gear and accessories to show off your Baylor spirit and Harley pride. Visit us today and find your freedom on two wheels. Harley-Davidson of Waco, where Baylor fans never ride alone. Visit in-store or at hdwaco.com. Sic Em Bears.
Yeah, you probably grew up a Cowboys fan, right?
I grew up in Dallas. Yeah, I would say yes, I am a Cowboys fan. I don't watch every game. Honestly, okay. I've never been to a game, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But yeah, if the Cowboys are on and it's meaningful, I'm rooting for them.
Yeah, but to do it in that stadium, in that situation, that was tremendous. I remember there was a pass early in the third quarter. You hit Kendall Wright, 46-yard touchdown pass. And I remember we all in the radio booth said, "Oh, we're going to be okay. Nick Florence is in there at quarterback, but we're going to be okay." You guys went on to put up 66 points on Texas Tech.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you all had the confidence that we were going to be okay. It was that one half of football felt like a really long half of football.
Really?
But again, I attribute it to the guys. I remember coming out at halftime, and we had actually already set the first two plays earlier that week coming out at halftime. And so the confidence in the coaches to stick with that plan despite a change at quarterback. I think one showed me that they had a lot of confidence in me. And then two, just looking around the huddle, I simply said, "Hey, if you guys believe in me, we'll get this done." And so I truly believe it was their belief, and those guys didn't miss a beat. Again, from Kendall to Terrence to, I guess, Williams and Ganaway for that matter, and the O-line, they truly believed in me. And so we just picked right up where we left off after the first half.
Wow. Let me toot your horn a little more because you're not going to do it, but that shows how prepared you were also. I mean, this was the 11th game of the year. You were redshirting. You went into that game thinking you knew what your role was going to be, but you were prepared. Shows you did the work during the week for whatever might happen on Saturday.
Hey, when you're not going to play on Saturday, you got to do something to have fun during the week. And so you kind of just make it a mental game to see how good you can prepare so that you can enjoy Saturday some. But no, again, I think that's part of the maturing process. And would I have done that 3 years earlier? Probably not. And so it's a testament again to our coaches and the teammates around me. So it was fun. It was a blast. I remember that night well. I don't remember the details of the half all that well, but I do remember that day and evening well. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, great memory. Tremendous performance by you coming off the bench. 2012, you're handed the reins. Rob goes on, to the pros, and you're handed the reins in 2012. And remember, this was sort of this was a key year because Baylor had been to bowl games, back-to-back 10 and 11. Rob's leaving, is the team going to, keep going upward, or what's going to happen? I mean, that 2012 season was really a key bridge season for the team.
Yeah, it was huge, and I think the whole team felt that. You lose a Heisman Trophy winner, and it's the most success we've experienced at Baylor, maybe ever, but definitely in a long time. And so it was really that offseason. I think all of us were motivated to, how do we continue this? How do we shape that? Hey, this isn't a one-man show. It's a team filled with 100 players on it, and we're still here. And just because one guy leaves. And he's done so much for our program, but he's not just the program, right? And so I think we were all motivated that off season, and it was a special year. It definitely had its ups and downs, no doubt. And I think we overcame a lot in 2012. But man, I look back on that year with a lot of fondness. It was a ton of fun.
Same here. I mean, you were 4-5 at one point. I was thinking, man, the bowl streak was fun, but looks like it's not going to continue. But sure enough, that late season stretch included a win over Kansas State when they came in. They were ranked number one in the BCS poll. You guys, it seems like, had a huge amount of confidence going into that game against K-State. What was that?
Yeah, there was a shift in the middle of the year. We went on I think it was a 4-game losing streak, if I remember correctly, to start Big 12 play. And man, it's hard. You kind of respond in one of two ways. Either the whole house crumbles, or you figure out a way to unite. And to the credit of the team, like we, offense and defense, we figured out a way to unite and really start playing for one another, and not worry about all the outside noise and everything else. And so coming into that game, I think we had a lot of motivation. Coaches came up with an incredible game plan that the players believed in. And so I think we came in with a lot of confidence. Obviously, hopefully every time you step on the field, you're confident in your abilities and the game plan. But there's also in the back of your mind, the unknown of, hey, I don't know how this is going to turn out. Yeah. But we got off to a really fast start on that first drive against Kansas State. And then the defense, oh man, the defense. I think that was really, they came out and showed what they were capable of doing all year, that they just hadn't lived up to that potential. And really from that game on, the defense was unbelievable the rest of the year.
That's cool. Remember that goal line stand, Eddie Lackey and everybody, yeah. Colin Klein, who was, one of the Heisman favorites. Huge win for you guys. Go to the Holiday Bowl, play UCLA. It's on the West Coast. UCLA, kind of like a home game for them. But you guys just continued and finished with a big win over the UCLA Bruins.
Yeah, it was a blast. Going back to that K-State game, I think one of the cool things, Bill Snyder's a class act, right? What he's meant for college football. And, after that game, it was sometime that next week, I got a letter in the mail from Bill Snyder. So we realized, like, we beat them. It knocked them out of the national championship game and maybe cost Colin Klein a Heisman. I don't know if he would have won it or not, but he was up there. And I don't even remember who ended. It was Johnny Manziel that year, so he may not have won it. Who knows? But Bill Snyder writes me a letter congratulating me on how well I and the team played, and just what a class act that is, knowing that game, that loss, cost them a shot at the national championship. And so cool story on Coach Snyder. And again, I think what he's done for college football and athletics can't be overstated. But yeah, we used the momentum, got bowl eligible the next week, beat Oklahoma State at home to end the year, and then got to go to San Diego, which was a dream come true. I still think the best bowl game we've been in, but I'm biased, right? And I can be. And but it was a ton of fun. UCLA was a great team. They'd come out of the Pac-12 championship, and I just think our guys were motivated again. Like, we're in their territory. It's California. We're a bunch of Texas kids, and I even remember Coach in the locker room during practice that week. He'd always come up with these weird slogans and phrases, he looked at us and he said, "Hey, they can have their fast cars and their palm trees, guys. They can have all that, but you know what we have? We got our oak trees and our mopeds. We're going to be just fine." So we kind of came in with this mentality of, hey, our backs are against the wall and we're going to be scrappy and we're going to be gritty. And we came out guns a-blazing. It was a ton of fun. I mean, defense had how many sacks that game? They were all over Brett Hundley.
Yeah. Yeah. And what was the final score? Do you remember the final score of that game?
The final score, which may be disputed what's in the record book, but it is 49-19 is the true score of that game.
That's right. Because UCLA did not score a touchdown late. They were given credit for. So it may show up some places as 49-26, but we know 49-19.
That's right. On the rings, that's all that matters. It's 49-19.
That's great. Well, you're great to join us middle of the summer. Enjoy a little vacation time with Rachel and the kids. And thanks for being with us. And really appreciate what you continue to do, supporting our student athletes, supporting Baylor athletics, and doing it in such a godlike manner. You're just it's an honor to work alongside you, and what you do. I really appreciate it. So thanks very much for that. And thanks for being with us today.
No, I appreciate it, J-Mo. I appreciate what you do. And again, man, we're doing some amazing things, and that's the exciting part. We all want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. And I get the privilege to still do that at a place I love at Baylor. So
thanks again for joining us on the Sic Em Podcast, presented by Harley-Davidson of Waco, a sport and story production. If you enjoyed this conversation with Nick Florence, head over to BaylorPlus.com or the official Baylor Athletics YouTube channel, where you can watch the premium video version of this podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast, leave a review, and tell your friends about us. I'm your host, John Morris, and I hope you'll join us next week on another edition of the Sic Em Podcast.